So my research question is, how do shortened phrases such as gotta represent instances of grammaticalization, and what factors influence the rates and patterns of when these forms are used, depending on different characteristics such as gender? So I first got interested in this topic because of my first big paper. I did an interview with my dad and my sister because my dad is his generation are the baby boomers, and my sister is in Gen Z, and I wanted to see how different their use of language was. And one thing I found from that was how much they both say words like gonna, gotta, wanna, or other variations of reduced shortened phrases. So I thought that would be a cool topic for my final paper. And so these reduced shortened phrases they're the phrases that are reduced from like either two words or maybe a whole sentence, like how, if you're saying you're going to, a lot of times people say gonna because it's easier to say. And when people want to say like what are you doing, which is a whole sentence, sometimes people say what you doing because that of course is also easier to say. So my roadmap was that I wanted to create a survey and ask people how what they thought about these shortened phrases, or like their perception on it. So the first question I had for my survey was, what is your perception on shortened phrases such as gotta, wanna, or what you doing? Then the second one was, how often do you think you use these types of shortened phrases? Because I wanted to know what the frequency of everyone's usage of these phrases was. And then the third question was, what shortened phrases do you use in daily speech? Because I wanted to think of other reduced phrases that people use in everyday speech that maybe I didn't think of, or maybe another person says more frequently, and I thought that would be really interesting to add that in. Research says grammar comes from a person's experience with language patterns. So, if a person grew up, hearing going to like gonna, or their parents saying gonna, they're gonna end up saying gonna more frequently than the two words going to. Frequency promotes new forms of words to become its own word. Some scholars have said this, where they believe that even gonna, gotta, wanna, and those kinds of words, or maybe even their own new word with the same meaning as what their original phrase was, like going to and gonna, but they believe that it might even be its own word because of how frequently the words are being used. Then phonetic reduction is a big topic throughout my paper, because it's when phonetic reduction means that there's less movement in the mouth to make to sound out a word. For example, it's we would say it's more difficult to say want to and pronounce want to instead of just saying wanna, which is what, well, I guess it's two syllable, wanna, I don't know, maybe one syllable, well, I'm not sure, but yeah, but yeah, it's easier to say wanna than want to, or gotta than got to, what you doing, you get the gist. And here's one part of my data. This was from the question, how often do you think you use these types of shortened phrases? Now, I did this survey first on my friends, so there's not that much data yet, but there will be much more data for the final paper. And here we see that often, most people said that they use these phrases often, but still a lot of people just said sometimes. No one said never, though. And then the next question in my survey was, what is your perception on shortened phrases such as gotta, gonna, or what you doing? And most people said that they are informal and should not be used in formal situations, but I found it interesting that at least some people said that it does not matter when they are used. So these people believe that you could even use them in informal situations because they're just that common, or maybe they're just more casual in informal situations. That could be it too. And then some people said that they can only be used in certain circumstances. And then here are the what shortened phrases do you use in daily speech? And I got some. I found out some different words that I haven't thought of for my paper, which was let me. One of my friends said that one, like let me, but they say lemmy, which is LEMME. I thought that was very interesting. And then they also came up with like the abbreviation for second, like sec. And then what's up, which is combining what is up, and you're just putting is at the end of what. And then other people said the same kind of words that I was talking about. So the majority of the people said that they use shortened phrases frequently, which is what I thought would happen, and that most people also said that they're informal, which I believe that I believe that most people would say that too, because you don't usually write like gonna in a formal paper or at like during your speech for some other project maybe. And then the other more different short phrases that I said were like lemmy and I don't know, that I didn't really think about before, which I thought were interesting, and I'll use that more throughout my paper since they gave me the idea. And then of course people said answered the questions in these ways because what I most likely think is that they're easier. These shortened phrases are easier to say. There's less movement of the mouth, which I guess is seen as a bit lazy, but it's easier to say, so people are more likely to tend to use these sort of words. So, I concluded that these words become more frequent because, well, as I said, they're easier to say. And then they are, according to some scholars, and I think it's pretty interesting too, and I may agree with them, that these words can be seen as their own words and maybe even synonyms of their previous phrase. And I thought that was a very interesting point. Now, when I write my final paper, I'm going to change the survey to add gender, because most of the people that took my survey were girls, because that was just my friend group. So I'm going to add a section for gender, to just compare the differences between that. I wanted to do age, but I don't think I really can because I don't know that many older people. I don't really have that much of an age range of people. And then yeah, I'm going to get more people for the survey. And then I also want to use Corpus of Historical American English. I think that would be a really interesting website to put in to get more data on this topic.